so now we're going to talk about how to do the single crochet, and specifically how to make this swatch square that is described on your ball of yarn. So it has both the dimensions for knitting and crochet, so we'll be using the crochet one, and it says 8 single crochet across by 9 rows long should end up a 4" by 4" square, or 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters. So this swatch square, making sure that yours actually measures the same as they suggest there, is super important if you're making something where you care about the finished size of what you're working on. If you're making something like clothes or a hat, it's going to be critical that you match this gauge. And so if you work up this little square, this 8 by 9 square, and measure it, and it's, you know, an inch different from what it's talking about, even a 1/2 inch, you're probably going to want to size your hook differently. So if your swatch comes out too small, you'll need to use a larger hook than what it recommended so that it ends up looking right. And I know, especially at first, you just want to get started on your project. It's really annoying to stitch these gauge swatches over and over, but I promise it's worth it, because otherwise you're going to end up with a finished product that's the wrong size. And then that's even more frustrating because you have to do the whole thing over again. So take the time to make your little gauge swatches, especially early on. It's just practice. You'll get better and better the more you do, and eventually you'll know your tension and you won't have to do them for every single project. So we're going to start out with our chain 8 that we used from a previous video. And we're supposed to have 8 single crochet across the bottom. So I'm actually going to chain 1 more stitch that'll be my turn at the end of the row. And so I won't do a single crochet in that one. I'll just single crochet in the previous 8. So you still need your tension the same as before. We'll skip that last chain we just did, and you'll insert your hook into the middle of that loop. So now you have 2 loops on your hook. You'll take the yarn around your hook from the back to the front and pull that loop through. So you still have 2 loops on your hook. Then you'll go again from the back to the front, and now pull this one through both of your loops. And that is a single crochet. So for your next one, you'll go in the next one down the line and do the same thing again. Insert your hook, yarn over from the back to the front, pull it through, yarn over, pull it through both. So now we have 2 single crochets. Insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. We're at 3, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both. So you can stop and count how many stitches you're at by counting these flat loops on the top. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we've got 2 more to go, which is good because I've got 2 more loops left. Insert, pull through, yarn over, pull through both. Insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both. So now we have 8 single crochet on that row. I'll do a chain 1, same as I did at the end of my original chain, to be my turn. And by turn, it means just literally flip the thing over. And then we'll do our second row of single crochet. So we're gonna skip that little chain we just did, that kind of light green one as it turned out, and go into the first single crochet full stitch. And this is important. Instead of in your chain row, you were going into the middle of those stitches. Now that you have a base row of single crochet, you actually go under the whole flat stitch. So you'll be going into this open space below both of those top loops. So insert, and then it's the same thing. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both. And then insert again under the flat stitch, yarn over and pull through, yarn over, pull through. So now we're at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Sometimes you need to use your fingernail a little bit to get that all the way through on the end of the row. 8. So it's looking pretty good. It's looking like a rectangle. It's okay, especially if you're doing a long chain. At this stage, if it looks kind of twisty like this, as you add more rows, it will flatten out, as long as your original chain wasn't too tight. All right, so we finished 2 rows. We'll need to chain 1, which remember, yarn over from the back, pull through, flip your whole thing over, and now we can start our 3rd row of single crochet. I'm going to fast forward through the rest of this swatch making here. A helpful way to know how many rows you've done if you've lost count is to take a look at where your starting tail ended up. Because if you think about it, your chain started here and ended here. So your first row of single crochet ends on that side as well, because the chain went down, first row went down and ends on that side. So you can think about what end your hook is on and kind of count from there. My first row single crochet here would be 1, 2, 3. So I just finished row 4. And then if you can't remember if you've done your chain before the turn or not, because I just stopped and talked for a while and then looked down and it's like, oh, did I already do that chain 1 or not? If you have 2 loops on your last thread, that means you just ended a single crochet stitch, not a chain. So if you chain, then you only have 1 loop on your thread. Flip it over and I'll start row 5. All right. So now I've finished my 9th row. The way that you finish your crochet, if I were to just pull my hook out right now, this would be super dangerous, because if anything pulled on this, it would start unraveling my whole thing. So when you're done and you're ready to tie it off, just snip the yarn with a long enough tail that you can tuck it in, which I'll show in another video, and then pull it through. So you stretch that loop opening until it's all the way through. And now you can pull on that all you want, and it actually makes a kind of like a little knot on the end. So it's not going to go anywhere. Both ends of this can be pulled on and it's not going to unravel. So we finished our square. Let me grab a ruler so we can check my gauge. All right, so we're aiming for 4 inches by 4 inches, and mine's a little bit under. Mine's 3.5 by 3.5. So it's pretty much exactly square. It's just a little bit smaller than what it recommended. So this doesn't mean I did it wrong. This just means my tension is a little bit tighter than what it measured its gauge on. So if I were to make a hat or some clothes out of this yarn, I'd want to size up, and instead of using an L hook, probably try an M. I'll do another square like this with an M hook, and if that one comes out to 4 inches, then I know I'm good to use that type of hook on that yarn. If your square came out the other way and it came out like 4.5 inches instead of 4, then you'll want to size down with your hook. So it's all about just figuring out how your tension relates to this yarn and the hook you chose.